Hello and welcome to highlights of the Thrustmaster Formula SimRacing World Championship. This event was hosted by the exhilarating Suzuka circuit, which alone is a challenge, so imagine how tough it is in the rain. Well, today that is what the drivers are going to have to deal with as the heavens have opened, depositing more water on the track than a Brit would drink in a lifetime. In the Drivers' Championship standings, Mohammed Patel leads Yerny Simicic by 60 points and will clinch the title if he finishes on the podium. Whilst in the Constructors, Musto have it all secured, however Ghostspeed and Flag to Flag are still battling for the silver trophy. In what was a wet qualifying session, Yerny Simicic was definitely the man on a mission as he took pole ahead of Mohammed Patel. Callas and Stefanko rounded out the second row, and Eric Andre showed an improvement in P11, whilst both Invictus cars and George Chatsipantelis would start from the pits. As the drivers rev their engines in the pouring rain, the main question was, would Patel be able to secure the driver's title? Lights out and the leaders get an equal launch while Risto Capit stalled on the grid. Turn 1 was clean, but there was plenty of side-by-side action, most notably between Gosby and Maguire. With the pair taking most of Sector 1 next to each other, they showed the quality of World Championship drivers in Formula SimRacing, even in these difficult conditions. And to show the commentator's curse also works in highlights, unfortunately Gosby lost traction at Dunlop and dropped behind Michi Hoyer. Further down the field, Giordano Valeriano lost traction, sending him on a one-way ticket into the barriers. Conditions were extremely treacherous here in Suzuka, and keeping it on the black stuff was proving a challenge, as an Eric Andre showed on the second lap. In the battle for 6th, things were about to get interesting as Kish ran wide at Spoon. This allowed Michi Hoyer to get up alongside and apply pressure to Daniel Kish as he tries to steal the position. Gosby also gets close heading into the 130R. However, going into the Casio triangle, Gosby and Kish made contact, this allowing the Ghostspeed driver of Maguire through into 7th place. An opportunistic move there. We haven't seen them for a while, but Yerny Simicic is still leading the race with Mohammed Patel right behind him. And now Simicic is realising that he simply cannot shake off the black and red Musto car of Mohammed Patel. Eventually, the Brits' best opportunity to pass came as Yerny Simicic made a mistake at Degner 2. This gave Mohammed Patel the opportunity to attack into the hairpin up the inside and make the move to take the lead of the race. Patel wanted to win the championship with a victory. For the Ghostspeed driver, his car didn't appear to be set up well for the conditions, and that showed when the net wrecks of Callas also passed him at turn 1. Looking a little further down the order, and Michele D'Alessandro was chasing Martin Stefanko, but he tapped the back of him, causing a spin and dropping himself behind Michi Hoyer. It wouldn't take long for him to regain that position though, with a forceful pass at the Spoon curve. Track conditions were continuing to prove tricky for the drivers. Adam Maguire ran off track at turn 1, and upon rejoining he lost control, sending him on a one-way ticket to the barriers. George Chatsipantelis in his first World Championship race since 2012 also fell victim to the conditions, as in his efforts to fend off Araneda he lost control and wound up in the barriers at the 200R. To the relief of many of the drivers, the rain stopped on lap 15, and a few laps later Sander Callas took the gamble for the intermediate tyres. He was soon followed by Patel, who had seen Callas doing fastest laps. Simoncic and Stefanko though decided to take a gamble by staying out on the full wet tyre in the hope the track would dry further and they could go straight to slicks. And despite the improvements, conditions still proved tricky as Hoyer put down the power too quickly on the exit of Degner 2, leaving Gosby with nowhere to go. The result of this, Gosby front wing damage and Minchi Hoyer out of the race. Mohamed Patel, now on the intermediate tyre, was setting a blistering pace, and it didn't take long for him to catch Stefanko before passing him around the outside of the Casio triangle. A beautiful move. The Born to Win reserve driver Lucas Schmidt was another guy whose race ended early. As he went to make a move into the pits, he was caught by the nose cone of Masciuli's twister, which sent him rearwards into a race-ending collision with the pit wall. And now we take a look at Arif Roslan, who was the first to make that brave move of switching to the slick tyres. However, he made the switch too early as he put a wheel on the wet stuff and spun into the gravel, and unfortunately also into retirement. The ever closer capability of slick tyres was bad news for Simoncic because he did not have enough fuel to keep going round for much longer, leaving him with no choice but to pit for the intermediate tyres because the track was just not quite ready for slicks. Rather frustratingly, 4 laps later the track continued to dry and Stefanko was able to pit for a set of primes without having to use the inters at any point. Unsurprisingly, Mohamed Patel opted to play it safe by waiting until lap 36 to make that switch to a set of the option tyres. Sander Callas was running in second until he put a wheel on the wet at Spoon, a mistake that proved fatal as he careered into the barrier, ending his race. Many drivers suffering in these difficult conditions. Whilst in the battle for what was now second place, staying out an extra lap worked wonders for Simoncic as he jumped Michele D'Alessandro. The Italian was hot on the go-speed driver's heels until he too made a slight mistake running off into the grass at turn 2. This allowed the ACR driver of Stefanko to steal his position. Further behind and taking too much speed into turn 1 and moving off the dry line was only going to mean one thing for Daniel Kish. Yep, you guessed it, it cost him his front wing. Lap 44 and another spanner was thrown into the works as it suddenly started to rain again. Simoncic had not passed the pits when this happened and was able to instantly change to the wet tyres. Mohamed Patel though had already passed the pits, which forced him to tiptoe round on slick tyres in treacherous conditions for an entire lap, and although with some difficulties at the Casio triangle, he was able to keep his cool and retain the lead. This new downpour was bad news for Simoncic as his car was not as well set up for the rain as it was the dry. In his final efforts to keep the championship alive, he put the power down too quickly at the hairpin and spun. Now this put Patel out of reach. With Simoncic's mistake and Mohamed Patel's calculated drive, it was an easy run to the flag, and after 53 laps of braving the trickiest of conditions, he crossed the line to not only take his 8th win of the season, but to secure the Drivers' Championship with 2 races to spare. A disappointed Yerny Simoncic crossed the line in second place, knowing his title bid was over. However, he was gracious in his defeat. Whilst Martin Stefanko behind took his first podium since Turkey, closely followed by D'Alessandro and a great showing from Capit. And Eric Andre scores Driller's first ever World Championship points, whilst only 9 drivers saw the checkered flag due to the tricky conditions. Whilst the Drivers' Championship is now secured, the battle for second is not done. Simoncic has a 31-point lead over Martin Gosby. The question is, can the other Brit challenge for the silver trophy? Whilst in the Constructors, the battle between flag to flag and go speed has now been reduced to just 6 points, it's going to be a close battle heading into the final 2 races. Today's race may have sealed the championship for Patel, but the battle for second is still on. The big question is, can Martin Gosby mount a challenge on Yerny Simicic for second place? We will all be able to find out at the Circuit of the Americas on the 5th of November at 16:30 GMT. If you think you have what it takes, check out the links below and sign yourself up. Keep up to date with Formula Sim Racing by following us on social media and subscribing to our YouTube channel for all the live streams and highlights videos. I have been your commentator Dave Paling, and I'd like to personally congratulate Mohammed Patel on becoming the Formula Sim Racing 2017 World Champion. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you all again soon.